Hello, welcome back. Today we're talking about Lawl Beatdown. Oh my gosh! It's been a long time coming. I'm so excited to talk about Lawl Beatdown. You have no idea. This is like such a really important Lawl to me personally, but also just like Alright, I'm going to say something like really big first off. Obviously, because before every time we rank the characters, I talk a little bit about the Law itself. Um, but at this point, I think the Law community, we see it as a community now. We're all a collective. I don't really think there's like just one Law. Like we don't have just Law original that we all kind of look forward to anymore. And we don't really have. I think we have like trios of like the old Laws and like eras and stuff like that. But if we're talking about figureheads, I feel like LOL Beatdown is the figurehead of LOL, like the community as a whole. It hasn't been around the longest. It's in LOL Nova is like way older than it, and obviously it didn't start like everything, but I don't know. I really do feel like LOL Beatdown is the LOL original we never got, because Shad is literally like Shad and Law Beatdown are like it is the standard a lot of us creators kind of I feel like we strive for. It's Shad is not only very open in working with the creators, he's so awesome to work with. He's great. He's a great guy. Um, he's very incredibly talented. He can not only draw and animate but just like actually like make like fresh things from scratch. So if you see him in the batter, you know. And he can voice act really well, which is like really impressive. Like he voice acts like a whole announcer. He voice acts a character. It's just really impressive. His lore is just really good. This is like probably the one Law where I kind of keep up with the lore the most, because I just feel really passionate about it. Like Shad just does it in a very natural way, where like it's just the characters being themselves, and it's just good. And it like really feels too off. And he made a whole game just for it. Like Beatdown Bound was a crazy time investment that was the reason why we have other projects like LOL Nova did its whole ARG thing, which is again, it probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't have like Shad pushing the boundaries. It's just genuinely like really impressive. Uh, I know I'm gassing Shad up a lot here, but it's just true. Like Shad is just like really impressive, and I think anytime like he finishes a moveset, I think out of any creator, he's the one I'm like, okay, man, now go take a break, because he's juggling a lot every time a new moveset comes out. Like I imagine like he totally earns it every single time. It's like ridiculous. Um, and as for criticism, honestly, there's like only one criticism I can really give Shad, like genuinely. That being said, it is still like a major criticism. Uh, and honestly, it's even his like Achilles heel. I feel like it's like probably like the biggest like nail in his like shoe. I don't know what that means, but yeah. Uh, Shad has a very consistent problem where probably because he's juggling so many things at once, and he's doing a lot animation wise. There's always like one consistent giant error in every single moveset, like without fail. Even just to the recent moveset with Harry freaking Potter, it's still there. There's always like one little thing that kind of gets to the cracks. Uh, as a community, I think we always kind of like accept that we can look past it, and it doesn't really bother us that much. But as a perfectionist, like to me, I can only imagine how it feels to like for Shad, like just like to like have this whole giant plan for what you've got cooking, and to drop it, and everything works out fine. But then there was that one little thing you forgot at some point or another, and it kind of just lowers it just a tiny bit in your mind. Like, oh, every time I watch this, I'm gonna think about that. Obviously, no Law was perfect. We're all gonna like forget something in a moveset, but for Shad, it's usually really bad because it's always like something like a whole layer of a thing missing. Sometimes text isn't showing. Sometimes it's just always like something really annoying that kind of like everyone kind of just notices it, and we kind of have to acknowledge, oh, okay, that was just an error. It takes you out of the experience a little bit. I think as like a suggestion, I feel like Shad, like, because obviously you could say just like double check everything, but I think for Shad, because he is juggling so much, he's probably like focusing on a lot of other stuff, so he can't really do that himself. So my honest suggestion is maybe a proofreader or proof watcher, I guess. I don't know what the term would be, but to just like go through the movesets as they're worked on to make sure like there's no video editing errors or like mistakes or things left behind on the cutting room floor that he forgot about, just to make sure like it's all smooth. I think he would really benefit from that. But like that's literally it. Like that's that's just genuinely impressive. Like I can't really think of many other criticisms off the top of my head. Like obviously, I'm not gonna. I should also say it right now. We're not gonna talk about balancing that much in this first video for multiple reasons. First of all, there is a lot to talk about with these characters. Like, especially for this first part, I feel like I'm more confident talking about them a little bit. But, like, for the second part, oh god, absolutely not. There's, like, way too much going on. I don't feel confident at all. But also because Shad is working on an update patch for all of these characters pretty soon in, like, a direct. So, I feel like if almost anything I say will become instantly outdated, I would have to make another follow-up. So, maybe I will make a part 3 if anything needs to get moved around. But right now, I'm just going to focus on their core. Like, are these characters solid? Is their foundation fine? And all that jazz. And I think Lawl Beatdown again is just one of the better, like, probably is like one of the best Lawls. There's like barely any flaws with any of these characters, but there is like some hiccups here and there. So let's get into it. And first up we have Strong Bad. Oh my gosh, Strong Bad has come a long way. I honestly forget sometimes he's the first moveset, because like this starting 4 just feels like a very natural. Any one of these characters could have been the first. It just feels like so weird. Like whenever I think of Lawl, like its founding like starting roster, no roster feels as homey as Beatdown does. Like you just have like Ed, you got Markiplier, John Egbert, and Strombat. They just feel like they're just a bunch of dudes. It's pretty nice. And Strombat has come a long way in terms of like his moveset as well. There's been a lot of changes. Shad has put a lot of love. He constantly goes back and updates a lot of these characters animation-wise, and Strongbad has come out of it the strongest, I feel like. I think he's probably one of the best-looking characters in this Law as a whole. It's a shame we don't really get to see more of him, because he's just really that well animated. I like the fact that he's a slower character that needs to rely on, like, cheating and traps, and even his little guy to cheat. And like prank calls and all that funny stuff to like get around his like bad stats. It's funny. I also like that a good example of how much Shad's improved over time is if you look at how the up B has changed over the years. Like for the Strong Bad specifically, it is very impressive. It went from just being a paper to being like I think like there was a bit of a change at some point. I forget what it was, and then he kind of added like the shredder into there as well, and like Ed's classic mode. He just looks fantastic. Honestly, I think I put him in so good. I think there is some kind of like problems where like because he can put down so many things, there's kind of a weird balancing thing there. But even if that got adjusted, I still think he's so good. I think he's perfectly fine. And then we have John Egbert. John's cool. If you could probably hear in the background, I don't know how loud it'll be. I have Showtime playing, so I don't know much about Homestuck. I've kind of like always wanted to try and get into it. I haven't done it yet, but I love Showtime. I think Showtime is just like an amazing track. And for early Beatdown, Shad once again just shows he uses music very perfectly in his Law, I feel like. In that, obviously, because John was the second moveset, the animation of the time is kind of slower, it's a little bit more outdated, but Showtime, for the track that plays, just kind of elevates it so perfectly. It just adds that energy that it really needs, that keeps it, energetic. It makes me, like, excited to keep watching. And John's gotten some stuff over update patches, too. his the big hammer thing, he got turned into like a new recovery thing where he kind of just does the spinny attack with his hammer. I love moves like that where you kind of like spin a weapon around and you go in a straight line. You just have to commit to that. They just look so cool. I love movements like that. John has the windy thing. He's just not like a very complicated character, really. I think he's perfectly good. Like he's really good. I think what helped him a lot more now is like he also has a lot of good normal moves showcased, which does a lot. Also, obviously, because he's a Homestuck character, he has the Silodex, which hurts my brain to think about. But it's a cool tool. Like honestly, when I first did a first draft for this video, I said he didn't really have any sauce, and I completely forgot that Silodex is his sauce, basically. And he's just cool. He's a funny little guy. So I'm gonna throw him in so good. I do think Strong Bad is still a little bit better than him. Like John just kind of feels a little bit bland still, just a tiny bit less bland, a tiny bit more bland. I mean. And then we have Ed. Honestly, Ed is borderline like a flawless character, in my opinion. Like, he's just... I think the only thing holding him back, in my mind, is he's an all-rounder that feels like he does everything too well. But, like, I kind of... It's funny, though. I like that. I like, a lot of the changes he's gotten over time in the classic mode just shows off him so perfectly that he just feels like a perfectly fleshed out character. Shovel might be a bit too strong, I feel like. I do, but I also just kind of like all his recovery options. I actually like how his up B, he can do an attack after, like, he does the initial dash with Power Ed, but then he goes into free fall. So, like, he can, like, go off stage and finish off a stock, and, like, if he gets that, that's it, that's the game. But if he misses, that's his stock, too. It's a cool little thing. I like it. Like, so if you play Ed well, like, you'll do pretty swell. So I'll put him in near flawless. I think there is just, like, he is just a bit too strong. But, like, other than that, I do think he is basically just perfect in every single way. He is pretty swell. And then Mark. So Mark is Mark is like a weird combination of the problems I kind of see when I look at... No, he's like an inverse of Joel from Lawl Nova. In that, visually, he's perfectly fine. Shad has gone back to Mark multiple times and updated all of his attack animation. There's so many references throughout all the Markiplier's history. Everything has, like, the static outfit, so he can actually have alts now that changes colors, which is great. A lot of creators don't really do that, but Shad does. Looks really good, especially the pole dancing one. I bet that was a pain to edit, but it looks really good. The problem, I feel like, with Mark isn't that. He looks great. The problem is his core foundation, I feel like. And I bet you're thinking, like, oh, what do you mean by that? You mean it's like he doesn't have any stuff from his newer source? And technically, when you think about it, Markiplier's whole thing is he's meant to be an all-rounder, like Ed. But it feels like he does it a little bit more cheaply, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of his, like, moves, like, they make sense. Like, he brings out Tiny Box Tim, which is still very iconic to Mark. The poof gun, which I still like. I remember there's a bunch of skits where he just has a magnum in his office, which is just hilarious. He pulls it out for some videos, so I still think it's very relevant. Also, just the Wharf Stash makes sense. It's iconic. And they both change his stats up a lot. And then we have Floof the Hair for Power, which is another stat-changing move. I'm gonna be real, I've never liked Floof the Hair for Power. It's just like, it's another stat-changing move on top of Mark's kit, which is like, that's like a lot of stats to change around, and it doesn't really help him anyway. Like, with the Poof Gun, he gets a projectile, at least. With Tim, he gets an item, and it boosts him defensively, and the Poof Gun just slows you down. Floof the Hair for Power just gives him, like, more attack, and I'm just like, that's 3 stat-changing moves. It kind of just feels a bit much. And also, I just don't like the reference. I feel like it's probably the weakest out of all of Mark's moves. Like, obviously, Mark's hair is very fluffy now, and he dyed his hair a lot. But, like, I don't think of Floof the Hair for Power when I think of Markiplier. I'm sorry. This doesn't... It feels the weakest to me. I think that's a move I would like to see just probably changed out for a stronger fit from, like, one of his more recent projects. And then his recovery, I saw someone suggest that that should also be changed for like the hook from in Heist with Markiplier. I actually like that move a lot. Anyone who says it needs to be changed is crazy because you're missing a massive opportunity with the E meme. Like, press B to blow, now you can press E to blow. Like, come on, it just makes sense. The only thing I don't like about it is it just Markiplier. It's hard to tell what the reference is on a surface level. If you saw this in a match, you'd be like, oh, Mark is hitting a fat blunt and he's going upwards. I think it would be cool if he blew out the letter as well. Like, and it kind of vanish. And then it would turn to, like, an E for, like, his E-all. It just kind of makes sense. Otherwise, I think he's still pretty fine. I don't think it gets any worse than Markiplier. At least not for a bit. Mark's pretty... but Mark does kind of feel kind of weak. I could see him getting changes soon. I hope he does. And then we have Umbridge. Umbridge is great. Is this such an interesting character to do very early? I didn't know about the Harry Potter musical before this. And Umbridge is such a cool idea for a grappler. Also, I don't know how many people you've noticed. I'm sure it'll be brought up in the direct as well. But we've discussed this. We know it's there. Umbridge has an infinite as of like the last update patch. And I think that's pretty epic. So I bet you're asking, wait, hold on, what's going on? I thought this is like a, not only, it's like all about like, obviously you're not taking balance into consideration a lot, but don't you feel like if she has an infinite, that's a bit too much? And you raise a good point, but it's important to remember, always, whenever you're making like a fighting game character or a platform fighter, especially in Lawl, you have to make sure it fits the character. It brings out their personality as much as possible. And Umbridge, Mama Umbridge, having an infinite is funny. It's really fucking funny. But also, like, it's not too overpowered in this sense. Because you have to remember, like, characters that are overpowered exist in fighting games. Like, they just exist. It's not an uncommon thing. Characters that have infinites can exist. But that doesn't automatically mean they'll be the best character in the game, either. You have to remember, Umbridge is not only a live-action character, which means she's stubby, but she's also a grappler, and she's really slow. So she has to earn that grab to get those infinites, first of all. So, like, she has to play around by her own rules, and she also has to get around the opponent's bullshit as well. So it works out in her favor. It gives her something strong that, like, is funny. Because whenever she gets you in necklock, you're like, oh, fuck. Oh, no, not again. You feel afraid. You're going to feel afraid when she gets you in that infinite. Which is how you should feel in front of Mama Umbridge. You should feel threatened by her. And it just works. It adds a bit to the character that needs to be there. So yeah, I think she's great. I think she's just genuinely one of the better designed characters post the update patch. And then we have Stephen Quire. Stephen. I think this character is... Obviously, in universe, he's an asshole. He's like a total... Like, he's just kind of... He rants, he raves, he's beating Umbridge. He is sometimes too much for Psycho Dad. But he is a force of nature. And I genuinely want to see him used in lore more, because I want to cheer him on in a tournament. This is a character that is like such an energy that you feel hype as fuck when you watch him in like anything. Like if you've watched the recent boss fight where that uses a Stephen Quire in it, and he does his little combo, and then he grabs the bat and he kills the boss and goes, screw off! I'm like, yeah, you fucking get him, Stephen. Like, he's so fucking awesome to watch in a match. Like, I love ranting characters because they just make you feel powerful. They make you feel like strong and scary, and it's just hype as hell. Because obviously they're taking a lot of damage, but they're dealing it back, and it's sick. It's so sick. I want to see more of him. I so badly want to see more of him. I'm honestly going to put him in near flawless. I don't care. This character is great. Straight up. And then we have Watson Rosaline. God. This is like a weird duo tag team character. I feel like it's probably one of the more unbalanced tag team characters, in my opinion. They, like, it went from Neil to being, like, I mean, originally it was, like, I feel like Rosaline was perfectly fine and Watts was, like, severely underpowered. And then Watts became the stronger one because the horse is just... Have you seen how we talked about, shifting hitboxes in the video discussing SpongeBob's moveset in our one podcast? You understand why that move is a bit much. But also, like... Watts it's just weird. It feels like Watts like just can't catch a break. I hope this next update patch really helps him out. But I love the idea he's the goofy, funny one. That's a little bit more ridiculous, and then Rosaline is just Rosaline. I think it's weird that like now. I remember I saw someone like make a comment like, "Oh yeah, Rosaline probably needs a nerf because she's just Minecraft Steve. She can make a wall whenever she wants." It doesn't even need to take damage, it just is a temporary wall that's there for a tiny bit. Obviously it won't be there forever, but you just still kind of have to deal with it, and it's just funny. And she obviously has the... I don't know, I feel like she's in some ways a lot weaker than Watts, but also not. It's weird. They're just weird. I'm honestly might put them above, just barely above Markiplier, and I'll put, like, individually, Watts is funny, and then Rosaline's also below Mark. And maybe I'll put her, like, above Mark, just barely. I don't even know, no. Yeah, I think, honestly, when I started doing this, I would have probably ranked Mark the lowest, but over time, I'm kind of starting to realize, like, they're the ones that kind of feel like they need a little bit more work. Like they've got the personality there, but like some of the moves just don't feel the greatest. Also, it probably isn't helped by the fact that obviously, it's just been a while. It's just been a really long time. And then Homestar, he's a terrific athlete, S tier. I think Homestar is kind of a goofy little guy. He's funny. He has had a weird balancing history in that his down B, the bridge sing along, was a thing at one point and it had to be removed. But I still think it was kind of charming in its own way, where it's just like a completely useless move on this guy. I do like that Homestar is also like the fastest character in the Law, period. And he has no vertical movement. A lot of his movement is purely horizontal, going left and right. And I like that. It means, like, he obviously he can put down a lot of traps. He has to play carefully. But if he gets, like, has to fight a character that has weird launch angles, he's gonna get, like, super screwed over. Because that fish does not go up. And I kind of like that. It balances out the fact that, obviously, he is really fast. He can kind of Sonic you by putting down a lot of traps. And just, like, be a little shitter. But... there's downside. There's like some clear downsides. So I still like him. I'll put him in like he's neat. I could see him getting changed, honestly. And then Karkat. He's Toon Link with a couple more tricks. I like him. There's not much to talk about with Karkat. He just has a cool weapon switching mechanic. I think he's neat. I kind of wish he was used more. I just like him. I do think it's interesting that the trolls aren't considered villains in Law Beatdown's like lore. They're kind of just there in the mansion and like they're chill, they're fine. Like they're working with like the staff, not Dio or anything. Which is I wonder if like that's gonna be fleshed out more. I kind of just want to see what Karkat. I didn't want to see what Karkat works with in Law best, because obviously the villains have their click. So who does he click with? I don't know. Oh god, and Tom. So when I first did this, I think I ranked Tom pretty highly, but I'm gonna actually make a surprising change. I think Tom is one of the most fun characters in this Law period. Like if you played him in an actual game, he would be genuinely awesome. It'd be really hype. So, obviously, Ed had his classic mode thing, and he goes through a lot of it. Then he does like the 2v2 thing with John and Karkat, and then he brings Tom along as his duo partner. And I'll be real, I go back to that video a lot, because obviously there's like just so much in it that I need to rewatch. But every time I go back to that video, I always focus on Tom and Karkat's fights, because it's so fucking cool, man. Like, they don't move around that much at all, but so many interactions are happening in that short span of time. Tom's harpoon gun was like, just to see him just shoot it out, and he goes, got one! The second he catches you, he pulls you in, grabs you, kill confirms into like an aerial. It's just, I love moves that were like you send something out, and then once it confirms it hit, the character says something, then makes you go, yes, that dopamine hit that hits you, that makes it, oh yes, this is great. Tom has that in spades. Honestly, maybe there is like he's also got like this really strong recovery as well. He's got like the funny bottle throwing thing, but I weirdly like the harpoon gun more than the bottle throw. Maybe he can zone a bit too easily, I'm not quite sure. But I love that harpoon, man. That harpoon, like, makes this character. Is so, so good. His actual up B might be a bit slow, but I think it's balanced out by the side B. The harpoon being so strong. I forget the down B exists half the time, but that's okay. He only needs harpoon. He's pretty hype. So yeah. I think I originally just kind of ranked him in near flawless, but like I've just kind of just realized I want to see Tom fight in something again. I want to see him use more tilts. He was just cool to watch in combo, and just be hype. It was great. And then Matt. If you saw, I posted a community poll a while back. I got the most recent one a little bit further back about Lawl stuff in general to do with Cheesy on a stream. Matt's matchups was one of them. Oh, we had already started that before, and I thought it'd be funny if I just put it there to see how people would react to it. No one really did, so I guess I'll say it now. I think it's funny. So we were originally wanting to do like a whole matchup tier list chart for Lawl Beatdown. And we started, and me and Cheesy were kind of just discussing it, and Cheesy's like, hey, why don't we start with Matt? Matt's pretty cool. I like Matt. I'm like, okay, that's funny, sure. And then we got to Matt, and we went up to, like, Watts versus Rosaline, I believe, and we kind of stopped. Matt, like, I think we actually went up to Frisk, I believe. Matt only had a positive matchup against, like, Stephen Quire. He is so bad. He's like the definition of a low tier. He does have some really good tools, like his down B thing where he does the Matt sucks and turns into a vampire. And it sends that wave of stun around him. That's like frame 4. So he can do some really cool stuff out of it. The problem is, like, he also just has like a lot of other stuff. Like his recovery is kind of His vanity system's kind of And then his, like, the monkeys are kind of It's kind of a shame, because I think he's cool, but, there has to be a low tier in every game, There can't not be one. So I'm going to put him in, like, also these neat. I still like him. I think he's funny. But yeah, he is just admittedly, like, a little bit weird around his specials, but all of his normals are pretty good. I still like him. And then Frisk. Frisk has had so many, like, quality of life changes to them, but they honestly just seem pretty fine to me. They are Frisk from the Undertale, the story of Undertale. Yeah. They're animated really well. I often sometimes go back to Ed's classic mode to watch Frisk's fight as well, because it is just really well animated. But yeah. Honestly, I think it's funny how over time, Frisk came out way later. We kind of see Frisk paired up with, like, John, Strombad, Mark, and Ed as like the original 5. I think it's sweet. Frisk is the honorary lead of Beatdown alongside them. He's honorary number 5. I like it. I think he's gonna go in maybe near flawless, I mean, it is Frisk. I feel like it's pretty faithful. It's not too unbalanced. He's just Frisk. And then Dan Backslide. This is still such a really cool character. I do feel like some of his special moves are kind of like meh. But I think overall, I think that my biggest problem with Strombat is that the fact that he is a character that is like, he's meant to be fast, he's meant to be sly and sneaky, and go around and just be like, do a whole bunch of fast stuff. And then all of his special moves are mostly supplementary for that. So I think what's holding Dan back for me is the fact that he hasn't had any standard moves showing off yet. I feel like I want to see more of his attack showing off in something. Like, it makes me sad that his segment was, like, kind of short in Ed's mode. Because, like, we didn't get to see enough, and I need to see more. I want to see, like, him, like, all the fast attacks he can do. I think that would do a lot for his character. Honestly, if I had to, like, make a tier list of characters I want to see a standard showcase for, I think Dan would be up there. Otherwise, I think he's just kind of neat. I think I'll put him on top of, like, a Homestar. And then we have Tord. Tord's our boy. Tord's, like, I mean, you've probably seen the moveset already, right? I feel like everyone, even if you're not part of the Law community, you've seen this moveset. Tord's pretty fantastic. Like, I do think there could be some fun little things added, but they're purely, like, extra stuff. So, obviously, he can choose to throw, like, the sofa thing. Yeah, no, like, it's just cool because he just uses his gun and he shoots things up, and then all of his moves are just, like, they're kind of supplementary. He has all the extra stuff. He can steal buffs with Necronomicon. It's just funny. The jetpack is kind of weak, maybe, but I think it's balanced out by the fact that he's just pretty strong otherwise. Yeah. I think he's so good. I think he's pretty fine. I don't have much to add. He's just good. Gary Oak. Gary Oak is, like, such a good character. I've already made a whole video, like, talking about just the opening of his moveset alone. Just, if that gives you an idea of, like, how, like, fantastic Gary is. So, obviously, when you're making a trainer, people have talked about making trainers in Smash as actual characters instead of just a Pokemon. Gary, obviously, I don't think he's exactly what Smash would do if they were to make a trainer. But I think it is what I wish Smash would do if they had to make a trainer in Pokemon. Gary, it's not only, like, obviously Gary Oak, it's his Pokemon, but it's taking a lot of quirks that Gary did in the show that you don't really think about. Like, the funny, like, the Lucky Kiss of For Good Luck, his convertible, his fans, and then obviously the Uppy was kind of like, they had to wing it, but the Pokeball thing, man, like, oh my god, it's so good. I'm honestly gonna give him a flawless. Like, I don't care. Like, it's like the fact that the little details that were extrapolated upon to make him even better. The fact he can, like, command his Pokemon to do other things in the Pokeball, like, the boost thing, it lets him, like, set up into other things with other Pokemon. So it's just, like, because obviously he shouldn't be able to just command one Pokemon at once. He's a trainer, he has a whole team, but it's just really handled really well in, like, a way that's not too overpowered. Ah, oh, it's so good. He's just great. He's really, really great. And then we have the Thwomps. The Thwomps are, like, really interesting because they're also, like, a duo character, and they're differentiated because, like, they're just really freaking slow, and they do a lot of freaking damage. Like, I wonder, like, at some point I do want to analyze how good they actually are, because they can just output, like, over 30% so easily. Like, they can just, like, give you 50% even, like, really easily. Like, off of, like, the little rock throw they do with their, like, I think it's, like, their side B. It's just really strong. They're really strong. But, like, they are balanced off the fact that, again, like, they're just really slow. They're, like, so agonizingly slow. And they have the ability, again, because they're ice climbers, they're like the ice climbers from Smash, where they can separate themselves. But it's done even better in Beatdown, where like they can really separate each other and like really fuck you up. It's really good. I really like it. I'm gonna give them a tentative so good as well. I'm gonna actually put them right next to Torm, because they just feel really nice. And yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Again, like, Beatdown is mostly just, like, nothing but positives for me. I doubt we're gonna get, like, any characters that are, like, super low ranking. Maybe we'll get, like, 1 or 2, but, like, that's literally it. But yeah, I think I'm feeling pretty confident about this. Yeah. So, I think that will be it. This will be a shorter part. Obviously, I'm kind of gonna take my time with the next part, because there's a lot more information to go over. Just going over the crystal gems alone, oh my god. Jesus. The crystal gems are like a lot to take in. That'll be very fun. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. This was very fun to get to work on, even though it took me a little tiny bit. So yeah, you all have a wonderful rest of 2024. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.